This is America in 2024. One side of the UNIPARTY is unanimous in its desire to fund and continue the bloodbath in Ukraine. The other side of the UNIPARTY publicly states that it has the priorities of America first, but sided with the UNIPARTY to continue to fund a hopeless war that is not only destroying a country physically, but demographically. And with this vote, it should also be noted that the GOP has shown itself to be exactly what it is, controlled opposition. While both parties within the UNIPARTY pander to different demographics on social issues, it's clear that fiscally they are one and the same, and the money being sent overseas will just be added to the spiraling debt that will, with mathematical certainty at some point, dethrone the US dollar and with it, the global hegemony of the United States. But what does this throwing of tens of billions of dollars really mean for the long term, especially for the United States politically? Well, let's have a look at this. Hi everyone, just to let you know, I have some old favorites as well as new t-shirt designs on sale right now. Link to find them is in the description, and would like to thank you in advance, as it really does help the channel, as for years now, content like this has been put into an algorithmic black hole, as well as being demonetized. So thanks again, as well as I'm pretty sure you'll find something you will like. So, just to recap, yesterday the US Congress approved $61 billion to continue to fund the debacle in the Ukraine. At the same time, it has given absolutely nothing to help protect the homeland or security of the United States. Nothing, not a dime. After the vote concluded, the Congress people, well, they squealed in delight and waved Ukrainian flags on the floor and chanted, "Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine." Note that neither party has ever worked together to pass a bill to help Americans and then euphorically waved US flags and squealed, "USA, USA, USA," not once, ever. Interestingly, or ironically, the passing of this spending bill was on the 135th birthday of Adolf Hitler. Something that won't go unnoticed, I'm assuming, by Ukrainian ultra-nationalists who have been amongst the most enthusiastic opponents of Russia since the Donbass conflict that preceded the current war started in 2014. Either way, after the vote, these same Congress people, they then proceeded to make their way to social media to hail their handouts that would continue to fund the current proxy war and lament anyone that disagrees with the continued funding of this meat grinder or those that call for a negotiated peace as Putin shills, isolationists, or, my favorite, traitors to democracy. So then, it would seem, as I've been saying for over a year, that Washington and its client, the Zelensky regime, well, they're willing to fight to the last Ukrainian, as ordinary Ukrainians are being used as cannon fodder and seen as expendable pawns despite the devastation to the country and the real and growing threat of demographic collapse in that country. With no off-ramp or exit strategy, Washington, as well as its voices in the controlled media, well, they've been clear for some time now of the hopelessness of the current war, and Washington has no illusions of an eventual triumph of the Ukraine over Russia, but is now just aiming to sustain Kiev's stability until the US presidential election in November. But let's stop and take a little diversion because it's very interesting to look at how we got here. This was a map of the presidential election in 1984. Do you notice anything? This was a time when states like California or New York or Washington weren't taken for granted, and the elections didn't hinge on a handful of so-called battleground states. This was a time when America was very much more culturally homogenous and a cohesive society where people voted on the issues or the candidate. It was a time when the country had its differences, but they weren't as polarized as to publicly state something as vile and hysterical as New York congressional candidate Nate McMurray. But those days are long gone, and with America's increasing diversity, tribalization, and the breakdown in civility added to the extreme polarization, well, the country is now at the stage where the government is openly looting the treasury. Well, of course, it's been doing this for decades now in the form of the military-industrial complex, pork politics, and in other ways in which the taxpayer has been swindled. It's now on stage for all to see. As well, and for decades, to their credit at least, the Democratic Party has been open about their desire for bigger government, more social spending, and wealth redistribution, while the GOP has played its part as the conservative-controlled opposition to a mostly white electorate, advocating for more personal responsibility, lower taxes, and smaller government. But let's be honest, the GOP has conserved nothing. Nobody with a shred of honesty can say that this is anything now but political theater of the UNIPARTY. Demographics is destiny. As the United States continues to bask in the strength that its unrivaled diversity has brought it since the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, one can see the electoral future of America. Again, demographics is destiny. This is why neither party has lifted a finger to secure the United States while sending hundreds of billions of dollars overseas in just the last couple of years to countries like the Ukraine and Israel, ostensibly for those countries to protect their national borders. And more to the point is that the masks have now reversed, as they have already several times over the past several decades. The Democrats have now become the face of the forever war party that is beholden to special interest lobbying of foreign nations, as well as the military-industrial complex, while the GOP has become the face of the controlled opposition that furiously claims that it is attempting to conserve and protect America while doing neither, and publicly hands themselves a monumental political defeat by supporting this latest boondoggle that will end just as humiliatingly to the country as the Vietnam or Afghanistan routes were when the superpower and then hyperpower tucked tail and ran in retreat from armies of rice farmers and mountain peasants in sandals carrying Kalashnikovs. But at least the USA is a republic, and you can choose something different by voting, right? Right? It's not like they are selections, right? They're elections, right? Well, I think it's abundantly clear to anyone paying attention that 2024 is the year that the American Uniparty has finally made its long-awaited public debut. It's also clear that it really doesn't matter which party is voted for. Yes, one might hand out a little more in welfare payments while the other is more lax on gun control, but the bigger issues are basically settled upon. This is the future that America has sleptwalked into. Many have warned for decades that this would transpire just as it has, and were voices in the wilderness. It's time to accept that demographics is indeed destiny, and that the controlled opposition, being the GOP, has been totally and thoroughly discredited. And from now on, it's pretty clear that the ascendant Uniparty will no longer even wear its theatrical mask, because it no longer needs to. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any comments on this video, please leave them in the description below. Also check to see that you're still subscribed, as YouTube has algorithmically shadow banned this channel into oblivion, as well as unsubscribed tens of thousands of people without their knowledge or consent. If you'd like to help this channel and support it, ways of doing so, again, are in the description. And once again, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.